go ahead and, because I know, again, you need to leave sometime, so you go ahead and talk about the progress or anything that you want to do right now.
Well, it's just my two girls right there. So do you have any questions of me right now? I know both of you pretty much reach out to me as you need to, but do you have any questions? I just popped on just to see if you had any questions at this point.
There was, I saw where there's a reflection at the end of the syllabus that we're required to complete.
Right, and that goes to Dr. Lamb, and he just wants you to just talk about your experience in the program. That's what he wants. And anything that be very candid. Anything that you can say that would improve it. What did you like? What could we do better? Those are the kinds of things that we're looking for.
So we email that reflection to him? To
Dr. Lamb, yes. And then the other thing is, it also is, in it, would you be, is this a program that you would recommend to, your colleagues? Would you support it? Those are the kinds of things that he would like to know. What has it done for you?
Okay.
That's what it is.
Okay. As far as the PSYOP is concerned, the fusing together of the graphic organizers, do you want, I guess it's for you, Dr. Stone, one complete organizer, or?
Danny's done this before, so Danny, what are we really?
Which task are you talking about, Tawanda?
4 and 5.
4 and 5. Okay. It can be either or. You can, if you do them separately, because remember, Dr. Lamb put it in the template, pull from here, pull from there, pull from here, pull from there. Whatever you do, just make sure that there is the narrative work explains what we're looking at and how it all ties together, how it links together. It should make sense. It's not just a copy and paste or cut and paste. It must make sense. There must be a flow there. So just make sure. And one of the things that I have said to students, as I'm looking at the final PSYOP as they're sending it to me to look at, I'm from the old school. I believe that, you open up with, a narrative. What am I looking at? Then let me look at what I'm looking at, with some explanation. And then, when you finish it, I think that it needs a short narrative as you bring closure to it. And many times that narrative closes out that task and it leads into the next task.
That was the only thing I was going to add. It's got a nice little flow to it with narratives between it that kind of show this is how this relates to the next piece that you're going to read. That's kind of what I was looking for, Danny. Is that what you?
Right, yes. And the thing is, when Dr. Lamb said, you've done everything already, he meant that all the pieces are there, but the actual work is going and finding those pieces. But then the work this semester is the narrative work and putting it together and making it flow and making it have, meaning, instead of just saying I pulled from here and just throwing it in there. That it's more than that. It's actually, I call it the last chapter of your book. You've been writing a book and you've written 5 chapters already. This is chapter 6, and this is going to be the, many times at the end, you go back and it's a recap of everything you've done. And that's what the PSYOP is. It's a recap of all of the other 5 evidences that you've done. So it's just kind of culminating that experience and bringing it all together. Does that help?
It does help.
Okay, good.
Does help.
Okay. Hey, Lynette. Hey, Christina. Hey, Jason. All right. Okay. Does anybody else, Christina and Jason and Lynette have just joined in. Do you have any questions of me? Jason, I've looked at most of your work already. Christina, I think you've sent me some things to look at. Lynette, I think I've looked at some of your stuff as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Alphine, I and the same thing. All of you. I've seen work from all of you.
Yeah, these are my faithful.
Oh yes, yes, they have been. They have been for throughout the entire program.
Yeah, they're good. They're
Yeah, they
good.
have been. And kudos to Lynette. If she can do it with a baby on one arm and still hanging there, way to go, Lynette.
Way to go.
But anyway,
All right.
you can reach out to me if you need me. You know how to get up with me. You all have my phone number. It's okay to call me if you have a question. Send me an email, a text message, and just say, when can we talk if we need to talk, as you're bringing closure to this, okay? And all of you do need to try to join in during the town hall, because Dr. Lamb will bring some closure to things. And I think it's very important, because at that time, if you have any questions, you can, that way, Tawanda, you can ask your questions. Don't raise your eyes, Tawanda. Okay. Dr. Stone, thank you so much.
Thank you, Danny.
I will touch base with you guys. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Danny. Have fun.
Bye-bye.
All right, well, welcome everybody. We're so glad you're here. We are on week 11. I do have recording too. See, I'm learning. We're on week 11, and that means there's really only, 4 more sessions, and we're out for Thanksgiving. We don't meet that week. So thank you all for hanging in there and for making it happen. So tonight, I want to do a couple of things on Blackboard, kind of remind you of a couple of things that are here. Danny mentioned the next town hall meeting. That, if you didn't put it on your calendar, that is for Monday, November the 26th at 7 p.m. And what Dr. Lamb is going to do is he's going to go over some really interesting things about what to prepare for that interview as you go to become the assistant principal, the principal, whatever your next step might be. But he has also added in the Blackboard shell, here under class week 15, which is the last week in second week in December, he has added some information about interview skills. And a lot of these things he will talk about on the 26th. But here are, if you want to look ahead on week 15, class session 15, he's going to talk about interviewing. What I really want to do on week 15 is to do some special things with you too, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But he's also given you, right below class week 15, he's given you some interview materials. I believe much of it is similar to what he's going to do on the 26th, but I would highly encourage you to be here for that one. It's at 7 o'clock on the 26th. That's a Monday, and it will be interesting. The other thing that he has added here on our Blackboard shell is this: how to upload a completed competency folio for evaluation. That has been there, so if you want to do that as you begin to do those kinds of things. All right, so looking at today, week 11, tonight you all are going to help me go through some scenarios. Remember, I warned you about this if you showed up tonight. We're going to go through some scenarios, and you're going to help me put them into place. But before we do that, I want to talk about why it's important that we do scenarios and why you might want to consider doing them when you become, no, I don't want a new slide. When you become the principal or the assistant principal and you are responsible for a staff meeting or a staff retreat, scenarios are a great way. So I want to talk briefly through that. If I can find slideshow. Oh, yeah. Start from the beginning. All right. So scenarios and case studies, which we're going to get into briefly because I don't want to spend much time on this, but why do we use them in education, or why have I used them, is because it really gives you a chance to learn a lot about the people that you're working with. But the best thing about using a scenario in a staff meeting, your first staff meeting, or in your first task that you've got, and you've got to learn some folks, and you learn people's personality, you've got to learn how they think, but you got to come through with some solutions. It's just a great one of those kind of activities you start off something with. Scenarios is a safe space because the scenario is not something that necessarily you're going to be evaluated on. It's something that if you make the wrong decision, that you can't go back to fix it. So here's a brief little introduction. Scenarios are really one of those things that I think I've sat through many staff meetings, as you have, when it's a PowerPoint presentation and the principal talks about this, talks about that, reads the PowerPoint to you. Have you ever had somebody do that to you? In a staff meeting, reads to you like you can't read? Well, yeah, that happens. A scenario is different because the scenario is kind of that fun thing that if you're trying to get a point across, or if you're trying to get some discussion from your staff, a scenario is a great way to do that. And it could be, you could divide up into groups and give everybody the same scenario. And the long-term purpose of that is two things. One is to develop that teamsmanship and to develop discussions around with people. But also in the reporting out, you're going to get some really different, unique perspectives before you have to make a final decision. Before you finally put the final touches on that new procedure you're going to do at your school, you know, when people report out, you're going to think, oh my God, I didn't think about that. That's a negative consequence that we can't live with. Or they may throw up something that would be totally new to you. Now, as a principal, as an administrator, there is great power in that, because by the team doing that and you implementing, instead of saying, here's my plan, and you implementing some of the things that come out of that scenario, those solutions, it's going to make it where they own it too. And people are naturally love to play games like that, or I do anyway. And so it keeps them asking questions and fueling their interest in it. But the big thing about it, I'm going to read all this to you because I just said people shouldn't do that, but it also gives you a chance to build upon your learning. As you're in that group of two people trying to work through this scenario, or you're hearing the report from the other team, you're hearing different types of opportunities. You also are given an opportunity in a safe space to make mistakes. Because when they're reporting out and they say something, well, this is what happened and this could be what happened, and you're thinking, I never thought about that. It's a safe space. So scenarios are really a great place to play and to develop plans. But it also gives you a chance to go back and readdress. So a mistake that you make with your plan is not a costly one that's going to cost you forever. It's also something that people enjoy doing. And the good thing about it is it also works on long-term consequences of long-term memory. So it's a safe place. You may have some really hard decisions to make, but it's a safe place for people to do that, as well as to do it within a team. I would use scenarios, and I know you've used them before, but when you become that administrator, I'm not kidding you, there's a tremendous amount of power in giving something to people and saying, what would you do? Rather than you saying, I am the boss and here is what you're going to do. And a scenario is a safe way to do that. At your first, when you become that principal or assistant principal, in your first staff development meeting or your first school improvement team meeting, and you've got this big issue of I don't know, late parents or parents bringing the kids to school late, that's a great way to have some really good conversation. No wrong answers. Nobody is embarrassed. But it also gives you a chance to have multiple answers as well. I really love it. I used it all the time when I was superintendent and as a principal. All right, I'm just going to walk them through this because I really want you to go to the scenarios. I've been looking forward to that all day to see how we're going to handle those. All right. They also, the last thing, scenarios provide a picture of the future where you are absent from it, but you're preparing for it. And you also are preparing the stages to get there. It's great for discussion. Think about who it's got sitting at the table. You've got people who may not often sit at the table together. You may have, if it's countywide, you may have the superintendent sitting there with the assistant principal, all sorts of people who come to the table. And they're adaptive. You can use them in all kinds of different purposes. All right, so let us go to where I really am looking forward to today, and that is the communication activity of the principals in basket. Oh, this is awesome. I'm going to have the greatest fun with this. All right. All right, you're all going to help me. Don't go anywhere. I see you, Christina, you're trying to leave. Don't go. You are going to help me with these scenarios because at the end, and I don't know if you played with this or not, but at the end, I am going to ask you to tell me whether it's a 1, 2, 3, 4. So you think, and you all are going to have to, I don't know, chatting probably won't work because I'm terrible on chatting, but by a show of fingers, everybody got this? By a show of fingers, you're going to tell me, number 1, is this urgent? Number 2, it's not urgent but important. Number 3, is urgent but not important. And number 4, ignore it. All right, so let's go, Mr. Brown. How many Mr. and Mrs. Browns do we have out there? I think we have 2 Mr. Browns and 1, 2, 3, 4 Mrs. Browns. So anyway, the scenario, if you didn't read it, new principal, lucky you. You come in 2 days before the teachers get there. What about a week before the kids get there? You're following the principal who obviously had a lot of problems. So, and your secretary, by the way, which I also found quite interesting in this exercise, has been telling people that you're not there and you're going to be too busy to call them back. So she's not helped you at all. Here you go. All right, so welcome. Let's see where you want to place these. And I have had the best time thinking about how we're going to handle this. All right, there are 21 tasks, and the thing says you had 90 minutes. So if you did it, great, you can, you'll be ahead of the game. But in those 90 minutes, you just come in the door, your secretary has handed you these 21 items, and you have got to make a decision about box 1, 2, 3, 4. Box 1, urgent, take care of right now. Box 2, important, but can wait. Box 3 was urgent, but, oh, great. I got to go back to the boxes.
Not important.
All right, 1 is important, urgent. Let me write this down so I don't forget it. 2 is not urgent, but important. Have you ever heard of quadrant 3, urgent, but not important? That's going to be an interesting one. There are those, though. And number 4 is the where you throw it away. Not. All right. All right, who wants number 1?
I read them, Dr. Stone. I don't want any.
No, let me point out one. There's one in here. I would just look at that, laugh, and throw it away. We'll get to that one. All right, we'll go through them. But number 1, there's an email request, evidently, that a parent wants to establish a new PTA council. Evidently, it didn't work, and I'm reading into her email that the principal before you just really dropped the ball on it, doesn't want to do it, and there may be reasons why he didn't want to do it. We don't know that from this email. So, is it 1, 2, 3, 4? Show me your hands, folks. Can you all see how each other's voting?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I'm confused. What does the parent want?
She wants you to start a parent council because you haven't had one in the past.
We can't see yours, Jason. I thought we was doing fingers.
We are doing fingers. I want to see what everybody's doing. All right, I got a 2. Jason, you got to do fingers.
It's important.
Got a 2.
I forgot what the quadrants.
3 is urgent but not important.
3 is urgent but not important. 2 is not urgent but important.
Okay.
All right, I agree. I think it's, Jason, what were you? 3. Okay. I think it's a 2. And the reason for that is because it is important, I think. And that's the key part. It's important because it's something that you're going to have to do. Do you need to do it in the first 2-3 weeks of school? No. You've got much more important things to do. Now, the reason why I didn't go with 3, Jason, was because I do believe it's important. Any school should be able, and you've got a parent reaching out to you saying they want to recreate it. Now, you got to do a lot of homework because it's probably a good reason that the principal before you stopped it. Maybe the parents got to be where they were mean-spirited or something, but you're getting a fresh start. I would put that on the back burner saying, yes, that's important. All right, number 2, newspaper wants to talk to you. It's going to take probably 40 minutes of your time. What do you think? Come on, give me some fingers. Come on now. All right. All right, I'm going to go with the consensus, too, that I think it is not urgent, for sure, because remember, in a week, the kids are coming. So the first question you want to answer in all of these, is it urgent? And if it's not, and the urgent part to me is a week before the kids come, you've got a mess. Keep that in mind. So I agree. I think it's number 4. I don't think it's that urgent. I don't think it's that important. I know it's not urgent, and I certainly don't think it's that important. Is it going to help your school that somebody does a feature on you? Might be down the line where the community can read about you, but they're going to know about you. All right, number 3. All right, if somebody chats with me, you're going to have to let me know because I never check that thing. All right, class supplies. There are shortages of class supplies. And evidently, this is for not enough textbooks, big mark, things not. All right, what do you think? I've got some 1s and 2s. Is it urgent?
Yes.
Let's ask that question. Is it urgent?
Some textbooks, but the markers and the pens. So, I mean, if it's textbooks, that's urgent. But if it's pens and markers, that's not urgent. It's important, but it's not urgent.
All right. Well, let's go with textbooks. They are urgent. All right. I agree with it is important, too, because kids are going to walk through that door in 5 days. Teachers are going to walk through that door in 2 days. So I would move that one on up to a 1-1. That is or a 1. That is an urgent and it needs to be done right away. All right, item 4, discipline. A parent. Oh, look at the name of the parent. I didn't even catch that. Seth Stone, must be my brother. It's calling. He's trying to call. He wants to arrange a meeting.
Dr. Stone, is there any way you can
make it bigger?
Yes. Yes, please.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I move it over. Yeah, that's better. Can you go to the next page?
All right, we're on what, 4?
Yeah, and a little bit bigger.
All right, there we go. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so a parent evidently, he wants you to talk to the teachers about discipline. Important? Yeah, I'd say it's important. Is it urgent that you do in the next 7 days before the kids and the teachers get there?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Is that going to be something that you, I mean, one, the teachers are going to be there in 2 days, so you're going to have a staff meeting.
Right.
That first or second day of school, you're going to have a staff meeting. Now, remember, here's my one thing about why this may be important but not urgent, is because it is important that you have that conversation with teachers. But right now, I've got 2 days before they come, I got to get those textbooks that we're missing and supplies. And I've also got to get myself together. And I got to, and see, this is also a parent who's talking about this.
Oh, yeah.
So I really want to know from my staff.
How she know?
This may be the parent whose child got
How
suspended.
you know?
How do I know it's a parent?
No, I'm asking the parent. How you know what the children doing?
I'm sorry, repeat it.
How does the parent know about the discipline that the teacher
Exactly, unless it was his daughter. Unless it was his daughter.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right.
this is important to talk about discipline, and you'll see it a couple of times, but nah, we'll deal with that a little bit later. It is not urgent, in my opinion. All right. Number 5. A teacher, you in the building, wants to start working on your dissertation, and they want to sit and talk with you.
Important.
Is it important?
I'm trying to look at it.
Okay. Is it important to you opening that school and the school operating?
No.
Not really.
No, that's not
That person. 4. Hey, I saw the 4s. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think it's important for that candidate.
But not
At some point,
But not for the school.
right?
not
At
my
some
first week of school. I'm just starting. I don't need a shadow. No.
not. And you don't need to do those clinicals, do you? You don't want to sign off on your clinicals. All right. Number 6, you get a nice little note from the assistant superintendent. So immediately, let me just say this as an aside. An immediate for me as a principal or an assistant principal is anytime you get something from the education center or the central office, it immediately moves up in importance. So it is important. It may be something that you hate. It may be something that's so stupid. It may be whatever, but if it comes from the central office, and from someone who has some power over evaluating you, it moves up in importance. So it is important. I mean, it may be something really, I'm talking about stuff we sent the principals to do. I would look at it from, if one of my assistants, I said, why? It doesn't matter if it comes from the central office, because remember, if I'm the superintendent, I want to fire you, I could do it based on the fact that you're insubordinate, you're not returning in reports, you're doing bad financial stuff. This is the kind of stuff that gets you in trouble, is to ignore the central office. So immediately, rise it. It may not even be something that's, we'll talk about it. But in number 1, I would say anything from the central office, a superior or someone who can evaluate you, bring it on up to important. So it is important. Is it urgent? Is it
Urgent? No.
All right.
It's the evaluation tool, so I said 2.
I think it's urgent.
You know, I'm going to have to agree. I can see where you may not think it's urgent because of you've got all year with this new instrument. But if you've got the new teachers and you've got this new instrument coming out and you're going to get them for the first day of school, I would really spend some time with them. I would move that to urgent myself, because that's an evaluation process. So I would say that's a number 1, important and urgent. because you are going to have a staff meeting the first day or second day of school. And if you don't tell them about the new evaluation instrument, they're going to hear it from the teachers at the school next door, and they're going to think you don't know about it. And they're going to think that you are not on top of things. So I would say that one is a number one, urgent and important. All right, number 7, Mrs. Rumor comes to you and wants to have a conference. And you kind of got to, it's like you really don't even know what it's about, but I resent, one, that she wants a written commitment. I don't know what that looks like. I'll tell you, all right, let's vote, and then I'm going to tell you my one aside about this. Is it important or is it urgent? Let's do urgent. Is it urgent? No? Yes? No? Yeah? Not urgent. Is it important? All right, most people are saying no. Let me give you just the one caveat about that. I don't know who I'm a rumor is, but if I'm a rumor wants to talk to you about your PE teacher having sex with the student,
Oh yeah.
that brings it up a little bit. So the thing I would do with Mrs. Amaruma, if she gave you her phone number or her email, I would call her and say, I'm new. I'm just getting my feet on the ground. I can meet with you in 2 weeks. Is it something much more urgent about personnel? That's the only reason I would move that one to urgent, because if she wants to tell you that her daughter is having sex with the track coach, that's a serious thing.
Mhm.
That would be her responsibility to kind of give you a little bit more information.
Well, Dr. Stone, it sounds like this person works at the school, it said, regarding another staff member. So I'm thinking a colleague wants to talk about another colleague.
Yeah, and that's how usually we get rumors about sexual things. Or my experience has been. Now, see, the whole thing that bothers me is that it's confidential, highly confidential, and if it's a staff member wanting to talk about, or strictly confidential, I would be, I would put the onus on her to say, tell me a little bit more. And if it's a criminal thing, or if it's just somebody complaining because she's loud next door, that can be pushed way down the road. But I would really want to know if there's something criminal that I've got to report. But yes, you're going to have staff members coming to you all the time and saying, the class next door is loud, or Miss Smith is 5 minutes late for lunch every day and makes my class late for lunch. You're going to deal with that mess all the time. Or there may be a teacher telling you they've heard a rumor that Mr. Smith is drinking. I would want to know a little bit more about it. Even though it is staff to staff, and sometimes staff members don't really like each other. If it's something criminal, sexual, or anything like that, or ethical, I'd put it on Mrs. Smith to tell me more. All right, number 8 is the substitute wants more lesson plan. That important? I mean, is it urgent?
It's not urgent.
No, it's not urgent. Is it important?
Yes.
Can you delegate that though?
Yeah.
You're going to delegate it?
Delegate.
The department chair or
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's probably important too, but I think it's certainly not something urgent. I would want to say we'll tackle this at one of our PLC meetings.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Number 9. Good news.
Important.
Water.
Mm.
Is that urgent?
Yes.
Yeah, it's urgent. Is it important?
Yes.
Yeah, it's important because you've got 500 little bitty kids that want to use the bathroom
Mm-hmm.
and wash their hands, and you've got a whole bunch of nice mamas who are at your door wondering why their kids can't wash their hands after they use the bathroom. You know, I'm sorry your water's off, but that's a problem. So that's urgent. That's something you got to do. You got to take care of. You got to have a plan. And I know every one of your districts probably has run into this before, where they bring in a water truck and they bring in water. You got to have a plan. Teachers aren't going to go all day without water or bathroom. Yeah, you got to do something about that. All right, the neighbor next door, number 10, somebody is vandalizing her flowers.
Important.
Is it urgent?
No.
No.
No, it's not urgent. Is it important?
Yeah.
Not really.
Not to me. It might be to her. If she can give me a name, if she can tell me who it is, maybe
Yeah.
I would be able to do something with it, but she just needs to watch a little bit more. And no, I don't want my kids vandalizing her house,
Right.
but I
They're
do
not
have to.
outside watching the
And yes, she's
phone.
a taxpayer,
Maybe
but
she
so am
needs to
I.
put up a fence. Tell her she needs to put up a fence.
She's a taxpayer. She's going to tell you I'm a taxpayer and I pay your salary. Have you heard that before? You're
Yes.
going to hear it. All right. Number 11, from the central office, the assistant superintendent. Remember what I said.
Mm-hmm.
Move your calendars. You got a meeting. I'd say that is urgent.
One. Yes.
Is it important?
Yes.
Yeah.
And look at this. You got to bring your goals and your plans. So that means you got to spend a couple of minutes trying to find them.
Doing
And
research.
you're going to have to work on them.
Right.
All right. A lady in the community on the Council for Children's Problems wants to have a class assembly for you. It's a nice assembly, evidently. It's probably free. Is it urgent?
Mm-mm.
I think we can now move towards shaking the heads instead of numbers. Shake your head, Jason. Is it urgent? Alphine, are you shaking your head? All right, it's not urgent. I'm not even sure it's important because it's an assembly. I mean, I don't like to have children abused or children have problems, but I'm thinking, oh yeah, we can look after that after Christmas. Come back and see me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, a family emergency. You're hearing from by the way, you're a doctor. Good deal. You're hearing from a family. She's wanting to let you know that, I'm sorry, this is a teacher, that they're not going to be at work for the first 2 days. Urgent? Urgent? Yes.
Yes.
Is it important?
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause you got to get a sub, you got to make plans for.
Get the lesson plan for the sub.
Yeah, that's right. You got to get those lesson plans done. And look at this. Mr. Sanders, the person in front of you, kind of played it by ear with teachers. So she's really not expecting a whole lot during the in-service meeting. So I'm hoping you're going to change that as well.
Right.
All right. Here is a teacher that wants to leave not just this Monday, but every Monday, 10 minutes before the students get out to go to class. And Mary is eager, but is it urgent? Is it important?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think it's either. Even though I would encourage Mary to go to Gardner Webb, but the bottom line would be, what would you do about her leaving every Monday, 10 minutes before the kids get out?
You would have to have something in place.
Mm-hmm. Coverage.
You would have to have coverage for that class.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite a commitment that you're giving her, because if it's 10 minutes before the kids leave, then that means you got 30 minutes of duty in the afternoon that most teachers have at some point. So not important, but not really urgent either. That's really more on her to try to come. What I would want her to do is to come with a plan. I've asked, a couple of teachers to help me come with the plan so I don't have to write the plan for her.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here's a teacher I'm sorry, here's some students. Now, the same way I said about the student, about the importance of the central office, I will say the same thing about when students come to see you. It is not the level of importance that you get from the central office, but if students make the time to come see you, I would move it up in my agenda a little bit. I won't say it's the most pressing, important thing in the world, but you're there for those kids. So if kids want to meet with you and talk to you about something, I would move it up to important. Is it urgent?
Not urgent.
Not hall pass.
Yeah, but important.
It is important because that's why we work. We work for kids, and if Jack and Camellia and Bill all want to come see you, I'd say it's important, but maybe not urgent. All right, number 16. You guys are working through this one. Trash in the hallway. Mr. Sam Clean wants to talk to you about. He wants you to talk to the teachers. Is it urgent?
No.
No. Is it important?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it is important. I think it is. And that's, again, something that you could tackle at that first staff meeting, have Mr. Sam Clean come in and maybe talk to the staff. It may be the first time the custodian's ever had a chance to get in front of the staff and talk to them. And that's quite empowering for Sam.
Mm-hmm.
It also shows, as a principal, that you've got tremendous respect for Sam. And when Sam is saying there's a problem, I think it elevates Sam to where he's not just the custodian anymore. Now Sam has the principal's ear. That's a powerful statement. So I would say it's not urgent, but it is important. All right, a parent wants to, the two kids won't be there for the first day of school. I don't like her reasons, but is it important and urgent?
No.
No. They're counted absent. Move on.
Right.
All right, some more parents are going to be absent, but this isn't even the first day of school. This is like, this is the kind of
July.
you're going to get in elementary school. So if any of you want to be principals in elementary, you're going to get that mama who's already got the calendar for the whole 2 years of plan, and she can tell you exactly what Friday they need to be gone. So they're because they got that condo at Disney World, or no, actually she's going to South Africa. Good for her. Oh, and this is an attorney. Make sure you see that there, the attorney at law, because you'll get a couple of those too. Important? Not really. Urgent? No. Talk about it when you get in March and April. But, kind of nice. We didn't say this, and I should have done this for all 21 of these, but do you respond back immediately to these with something?
Yes.
Yes, you do. There's an acknowledgement of something, whether it's we'll talk about it later, I got your email, I'm working on it, or we'll talk. Always, all 21 of them deserve an email or something from you saying, I've got it, it's here, it's resting right here, right now. You don't have to say a whole lot about it, but people just need to know that the email got through and that you are seriously considering. All right. Number 19.
I've got, go ahead.
I'm sorry, somebody have a question?
I have a question about that particular scenario, that last scenario. How would you respond? The one about the going to South Africa from March the 15th to April the 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of dealing with a situation right now. How would you respond to a parent that requests such a thing? Because first of all, I'm personally, is that for me to give permission for them to be absent?
Your district probably has a policy on absence.
Right.
And I would just simply forward it on to him, the district's policy on absences, and saying, please make an appointment to come in to see me, because your policy probably also doesn't say you can't be gone from a certain number of days. I mean, it probably says you have 10 days before you fail a course. So we need to talk about that. It is your job as a principal, though, to handle that. It's not the central office's job. So, I mean, you can say no and he can appeal it to the superintendent. But
I want to piggyback off of Ms. Bradley. What if the parent is requesting you to provide all the missed assignments while they're on this trip?
Is that in your policy? I would go back to whatever your policy is. And if the policy says the teacher will supply materials, then yeah, I guess you have to, if the trip is approved. Now, if the trip is approved as an educational experience, your policy, and you might want to go back and look at your policy will specify what you need to do, what the school needs to do. So if your policy says you're going to provide materials, you're kind of stuck with it if it's approved. Now, if it's not approved, you don't have to do it. So I would seek guidance in your policy, and I would also probably call whoever in the central office handles student services and say, what have y'all done in the past about this? So I'd seek guidance from, you probably have a department called student services over counseling, attendance, and things like that. I'd call someone at central office before I gave an answer. But
okay.
It really is dictated by your policy. But as principal, if you're following the policy, you can say no. I'm sorry, that's just way too much. But realizing that this is attorney at law, he's probably going to take it right on to the superintendent. And if he does, and the superintendent overrides you, your hands are clean. I mean, you've done what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
All right, number 19. You have got the jackpot. Is that important?
No.
Well, kind of, Is it urgent?
No.
No. It's actually a hoax, just so you'll know. They just want your Social Security and a small deposit. All right, number 20. this is your science teacher. His wife's in the hospital.
Important.
I mean, it's and critical. And so it really, this is a sad situation. He's going to need a number of sick days. Urgent.
Down.
Science teacher.
Yes.
It's urgent. Is it important?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a number one. That rises to the level of one, finding a substitute, making sure that school opens on time with the science teacher in that class. All right, the last one is just a note from the assistant principal who kind of passive aggressive a little.
No.
A tad bit. Didn't get the job. So is this urgent?
No.
No.
See, I disagree. I think
Well,
it
it
is.
is urgent. It is urgent because
I
this needs to be
agree.
cleared before. Yeah, I feel it's urgent and important.
I do too. Because Tim Parker and I are going to be working together for the rest of my tenure as principal there. So the day one, my first meeting of that day would be with Tim Parker. I'd want that assistant principal in my office so we can talk. I mean, I can't help it that he wasn't selected. I didn't select myself. The board did. But I want to work with Tim. And then this whole, anyway, good luck, that kind of, I mean, there's some
Sabotage.
things going on with Tim. One, he's mad. But I want to make sure that that would be something we have a discussion with very early on. So, yeah, I would say Tim would be probably on my first agenda meeting conference call. All right. So how do we do? Do we pass?
Pass.
All right. You think we did? All right. Let's see. All right. Now, any questions on that or scenarios and why they're important? I'm going to finish it up with this. When you become that principal or assistant principal and you have an opportunity to do something like these cases, they really do generate a lot of conversation, but they also give you a chance to understand how people are thinking, people on your team. And so I would encourage you to, and it also is not real life, so there's no real names, there's no real people that these people know. If you can do a scenario, it gives a free space. And then if they get it wrong, we can talk through it like we did tonight. If we disagree, we can talk through it and try to find out the best solution. So it's a great team building, but it also is a great way to move toward a solution to a problem. Any questions on that? All right, next week, join me, and we'll be talking about 21st century skills, standardized curriculum, PLCs. You all know more about this than I do, so that's our agenda for next week. I do want to remind you, I sent you an email with what I have listed under what you needed to complete. Did everybody get that?
I didn't, Dr. Stone.
If there are any problems with it, and now that was last week, so I've gotten several things to grade now. But if you believe that you've got something on there that you sent me and I haven't graded, I may have done the chart wrong, but I'll go back and look at it. But just shoot me a personal email and say, hey, I think I did this, because I want to make sure as we move toward the finish line here, you all are ready. Because task stream is the important thing right now. Get that stuff in task stream, because that closes, I think, on the 19th. All your other class assignments, if you haven't done them, don't mess with them. You do task stream right now, because I'm going to be teaching you until December. But task stream closes on the 19th. So do the CAP, do the PSYOP, get that stuff in there. I wouldn't concentrate on anything else until you get it in there.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right?
Dr. Stone.
Yes.
I haven't received the email. I checked twice, but I haven't gotten anything.
I will send it to you tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Are you doing your, are you checking your Garner Web? Yeah, obviously, because that's how you're in here tonight. I may have skipped you over, so I will do it.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you, though.
All right. Well, we're done. I'm going to turn off the recording. And if anybody would like to stay and talk with me about anything going on in your life or anything that you want me to talk about, everybody else can go. We'll say good night and we'll see you next week. But anybody want to stick around?
Good night, guys.
Good night. I'll be here until all the screens are gone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, man.
Good night.
Good night. All right, just me.